Hey everybody, coming to you from Dodger Stadium, the press box at Dodger Stadium. On the other side of that wall is booth number 5 here. It is the booth that is reserved for the visiting president of baseball operations, general manager, whoever is here representing the Giants. Buster Posey was in there the last 2 nights. Tonight it was empty because he was busy. First of all, it's Father's Day, so had children to see, but he was very busy back in San Francisco, back in the Bay Area, acquiring Rafael Devers, a blockbuster trade by the Giants. One of the biggest moves in franchise history of any kind. I think one of the biggest June trades in MLB history. You don't see this type of stuff in June. I've gotten a lot of questions recently, and Cole and I on Giants Talk get a lot of questions about trades. And Buster even told me a couple weeks ago, if you listen to that podcast, he said, "Look, I've kind of learned you have to be patient here. Teams usually wait until the end. That's how the market goes." But he called the Red Sox a few weeks ago, called Craig Breslow over there to talk about Rafael Devers, who had kind of fallen out of favor there, and he seemed a little bit unhappy. Talks kept going, and then Sunday, this all came together really, really quickly. So quickly that Sean Jelly found out about 30 minutes before first pitch that he would make his first career start because Kyle Harrison, who's the centerpiece of this deal, going the other way, he was pulled out of the bullpen and told you're headed to Boston. So Jelly, it took about 10 minutes for him to figure out what was going on, and then he saw Harrison and Jordan Hicks hugging guys and realized, oh, there's been a big trade. And I'm starting for the first time in the big leagues on Sunday Night Baseball. So a really, really wild day here at Dodger Stadium and for the Giants. But ultimately, they come away with Rafael Devers, one of the best hitters in baseball, has 15 home runs already this season, just perennially like right around high 800s OPS. Right now, 145 WRC plus coming into today's game. He will be the Giants' best hitter. It gives them a really nice 1-2 punch there with Elliot Ramos in terms of guys who have produced all year. Obviously, Matt Chapman had done a nice job before he got hurt. Willie Damas the last week, Jung Hoo Lee, we've seen be up and down. Wilmer Flores. So just more of a core here long term. I'll get to that in a moment, but really just kind of a game-changing bat for this organization. And Buster said that. He said there was some trepidation in trading Kyle Harrison and taking on what's going to be about $255 million, dollars, 256 million, somewhere in that range in terms of salary. But ultimately, he said this is just such a special bat, and you don't get an opportunity too often to trade for a 28-year-old who's in his prime, who has a history of postseason success, 955 OPS in the postseason. He won a World Series with the Red Sox. Really a perfect fit for everything the Giants need. They need more left-handed dump. Bob Melvin said after this game, a perfect fit. Now, defensively, that's where this gets interesting. The reason Rafael Devers is not in Boston anymore is because they wanted to move him off third. They signed Alex Bregman in the offseason. There were always Nolan Arenado rumors. He wasn't thrilled when they signed Bregman. He didn't love being told that all of a sudden he was a full-time DH. Tristan Casas got hurt earlier this year. They asked if he would play first base. He didn't want to. He's been in the news a lot going back to spring training. And I think obviously the Boston media and Boston fan base, that probably plays into this a little bit. Um, so it's been a story all year, but Buster said he talked to people around the game. He got good reports on Devers in terms of being a clubhouse guy. Dominic Smith talked to us tonight. He said he has nothing but good things to say about him. Willie Damas has been friends with him for 10 years. He vouched for him as well, said it's going to be fine. All these guys said he just wants to play baseball. Just wants to be, have people be direct with him, tell him where he's going to play, be able to trust what he's hearing and just wants to play. He's played 73 games. He leads the majors in games played right now. He's played more games than the Giants have played. So he does want to be out there every single day. And Buster came away feeling pretty good about that. Ultimately, probably the everyday DH here long term. And when I say long term, there's 8.5 years left on this contract. So could be very, very, very long term. It'll be interesting what they do this year. Matt Chapman's out another 3 to 4 weeks. Casey Schmidt gets hurt during this game. He's been the replacement there at third base. Devers hasn't played third all year. So if he does play third on Tuesday or this week, it would be not something new to him because he's played more than 900 games in the big leagues at third, but um, it would be something he hasn't done this year. He just hasn't really picked up the glove this year. I think they could look at first base long term, but they have Bryce Eldridge as well. So the easiest move, probably once everyone gets healthy and once all the dust clears, is to make Devers their designated hitter. Let Wilmer Flores play some more first base. Let him be more of a pinch hitter late in games. That is the role they envisioned going into the year. And then Gerard Encarnacion got hurt, and everything kind of changed. So that's probably the easiest move. Dominic Smith is here as well to play some first. So I think that's probably where they go. But long term, if he's the DH, that, for the first time in a while, really since Posey was here, that gives him kind of a core of position players. Matt Chapman at third, Willie Adames at shortstop for as long in his 7-year deal as he can do that. Jung Hoo Lee in center field. Devers, obviously, he is signed through 2033. That is the longest of any current Giant. All these guys, Chapman, Jung Hoo Lee, Adames, are all signed through at least 2029, although Jung Hoo does have an opt-out at some point that the Giants will have to take care of or at least think about. Um, Elliot Ramos under team control through 2029. Patrick Bailey, same thing, under team control. Bryce Eldridge hasn't even started the clock yet, so he will be under team control into the 2030s if he is what the Giants think he will be. So all of a sudden, really a huge core here, which is unexpected because that's not the way it's been. They were platooning, they were running guys in and out. They're using 60 plus players a year, but Buster wants continuity. He has talked about that over and over again, wants continuity, and he has that with the position players, which leads me, I guess, to the concern here. This is a huge day for the Giants, a very exciting day for the Giants. This is long term going to be fascinating. Sure, the cost, it's money, whatever. They're very rich, they can afford it. Kyle Harrison, I've always been high on him, and he's thrown well. And Buster's high on him. The organization is high on him. The Red Sox clearly value him very highly. That one could come back to haunt him at some point, but I don't think it'll be too big a deal. Jordan Hicks, I think, had to be traded at some point anyway because he wants to start. Has 2.5 years left on that deal. He wasn't going to start here anymore. James Tibbs, we'll see. I mean, he's a first round pick last year. He's had a nice couple months there in high A. The Giants have never particularly felt like he's like right behind Eldridge or anything like that. Like he's a future foundational piece here. So he joins a good group of position player prospects in Boston. But I think Harrison would be the one who comes back to haunt them if any of them do. But the concern here is probably what this all looks like in 3 to 4 years because these guys are all in their late 20s, early 30s for the most part. The guys who are locked up. There's going to be a lack of athleticism on this roster, most likely at some point. Devers does not run well. There's a reason the Red Sox wanted to move him off of third base. He's a slugger. He is, maybe he turns into Big Poppy. That would be great. It worked out great for the Red Sox. But we have seen Adames this year, even though it's been much better the last week. Like not quite what he was last year. Um, Matt Chapman, great athlete, tremendous. But he will get older as well. And then Bryce Eldridge at first base, doesn't particularly run well. He could DH right now probably, and that could be an option as well. They're trying to teach him first base, so it could get a little muddled down the line. And I think from an athleticism standpoint, down the line, they will have to find other ways to make up those gaps. It's certainly not the most comfortable thing, I think, for an organization to commit 8.5 years, $250+ million to someone who might just be a DH. That's not, I don't think any front office loves that. The previous one, remember they signed Soler and pretty much right away we're like, oh, we prefer to rotate guys in and out of that spot. So we'll see what they ultimately do from that perspective. But I think, you're looking at it here and they're looking at an opportunity to win and an opportunity to add an all-star to the heart of their lineup and add somebody who could be their best hitter for the next 5, 6, 7 years. We'll see what happens with Eldridge and where this all goes for Ramos. But right now, he's their best hitter, and they're excited about that. And they feel like this changes expectations. I mean, I can tell you, having covered Buster and talked to Buster and wrote about Buster quite a bit for my book, which comes out July 8th, by the way. He never gives up on the NL West. 2021, he was the one who came in and said, let's win the division. So I bet he comes away from this thinking, let's go win the division. But either way, if they get in the postseason, we saw what Logan Webb did Friday night here in Los Angeles. Devers has proven success there. The bullpen might be the best in baseball, so they would be really dangerous. Couple other things I wanted to hit here on the way out. First of all, listen to the full Giants talk. Cole and I taped an emergency podcast, just touching on all of this for 45 minutes. Everything, all the Dodgers thoughts I had over the weekend, we'll save those. Those will go somewhere else. Probably will never come out. A little bit on Giants talk. But anyway, there's a lot there on Giants talk. A ton of stories on NBCSportsBayArea.com. So check those as well. So video reaction from the clubhouse on my Instagram. So a lot of stuff. But I did want to touch on a couple other things today. Just a really, really strange day because of the timing of this. You don't see trades like this on June 15th. You don't see it right before Sunday Night Baseball with one of the teams being involved and it kind of taken over. You don't see guys like Clayton Kershaw and Willie Adames on the broadcast talking about a trade that has not been announced yet. A phenomenally strange day, I think highlighted by Joey Lucchesi, who was in camp with the Giants, warming up in the bullpen. It shows on the scoreboard, Joey Lucchesi warming up. He's not on the lineup card, has at least the one in the press box, has not been announced by the team yet that he is a member of the roster. Kyle Harrison had been optioned, Lucchesi was up, but it wasn't known. And all of a sudden, there he is in the bullpen, and there he is in the fourth inning. So that was strange. And then Sean Jelly, like I mentioned, finding out 30 minutes before and rushing. That is his first career start. A really strange way to make your first career start, but he was excited about it. He says something he'll always remember. Um, and then, they trade for a third baseman, guy who has been in the news a lot because of what's happened at third base. And then their third baseman gets hurt after the best week of his career, Casey Schmidt. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see where all of this goes. But this is, my initial thoughts on this. A very, very wild day at Oracle Park, but I will go back to October, pre-YouTube for me. But when Buster Posey, or a wild day, I should say, for the Giants, but when Buster Posey was at Oracle Park and he said, "We are in the memory making business." And before that, that is what everyone remembers. 2 minutes before that, he spoke for 2 minutes. And at the start of that, he said, "What I learned during my career is that fans want to see great players and great teams. Rafael Devers is a great player. We'll see if the 2025 Giants or beyond are a great team, but they took a big swing at it today."